Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, 1973's Fantastic Planet. This is 1973's Fantastic Planet that finally has an amazing release by the Criterion Collection. I picked this up on their 50% off November 2016 Barnes & Noble sale for $19.99. This is a Blu-ray. There's a booklet on the inside, and there's beautiful artwork all throughout the film itself. 1973. This is done by René Laloux. I might be mispronouncing that, but since I have René in my name, I feel a kinship here. La Planète Sauvage, I believe 1973. This is 72 minutes long, and this is. It's a French film, I believe. It's in French with English subtitles. Here it is, Fantastic Planet. The vinyl soundtrack for this film came out a little while ago and then kind of went out of print pretty quickly, but you can get it on certain sites like twoheadeddog.com, and you can find it, and I believe there was a second edition of the soundtrack. This is an animated film from the early 70s. And I have reviewed other animated films on this YouTube page, and like The Belladonna of Sadness, and this is an animated film that really stands in a world of its own. You know, just like Belladonna of Sadness did, this stands in a world of its own, and you kind of, you know, today in the modern era, animated films are only for children, except for like, you know, some anime. But in the 70s, animation was a ripe genre for adults, for anyone. Dramatically, violently, sexually, philosophically, it was for everyone. And you even look at some of the early films of Valerian Boracek, all animation. And this film, I could see people who don't even like animation loving this film, and then people who love animation loving this film. This is Fantastic Planet. Let's get into this movie right now, because this was a very mind-blowing film to me that impacted me greatly. And when the movie was done, the short 72-minute film was done, I still can't get certain feelings out of my head from this movie. All I remember is the night I put it on, I was a little bit tired, and I said, oh, you know, it's only 72 minutes, so I should be able to do it. Within 2 minutes, a minute, I was completely sucked into this film, lost all sense of time and reality around me, and then the movie ended, and I was completely enraptured by Fantastic Planet. I have some notes written on the board above me here, so you might see my eyes deviate. From the moment this movie starts, seriously, you realize that you're getting into something that you are not expecting at all, but that you'll be completely engaged and interested in. The relationship between humans and non-humans, Drags, in a non-human world. In a Drag world, I believe it's pronounced. A film that is disturbing, not in the typical way a film can be disturbing, but something deeper within you that hits you and moves you. And beautiful in all of that, in all of its strangeness and disturbingness. And actually the beauty is part and parcel with the disturbingness and the strangeness. Beauty, strange, disturbing, equaling each other, defining each other. Let's start with the music in this film. As I said, there is a soundtrack out for this film, and it's a wonderful soundtrack. So I would just, you know, if you like what you hear in the film, buy the soundtrack immediately, because it won't be around forever. It's emotional, it's jazzy, it's subtle, it's dreamy, it's alluring, it's sad, with hints of the psychedelic. The music puts clothes on the animated imagery and worlds and story emotions. This is not music that you're expecting. Okay? You might think that the music would be just totally trippy, totally psychedelic. It's not. This is not music that you're expecting for this film. And it's not it wouldn't be music that you'd be expecting for an animated film or for a film with this storyline in many regards, but definitely not for an animated film. It's very complex, it's very unique, it's very original in how it mashes up genres of music. And there's definitely a jazz core to it, but not in, no, definitely not, kind of an acid jazz core, but there's definitely a jazz core to this film. The animation reminds me a bit of Belladonna of Sadness, and I know that I mentioned that film a couple times already in this video. It does remind me of that a little bit. It's stilted, yet flowing and shifty a bit. It's like an 80s cartoon on Saturday morning, Hanna-Barbera, but with more dreamy, otherworldly color palettes. The designs are working at different otherworldly angles and pieces. The detail is otherworldly. There are so many things that are otherworldly. Look at just look at the art here. Look at the poster art here. It's very detailed and very peculiar, and when you see it move, it's even more peculiar. It's like your brain doesn't know how to comprehend the movement, or it's beyond, the animation that I've seen before. And there's vulnerable violence in this film. I've never been so affected by animation, I gotta be honest, since it's so emotional, and it's moving. You actually care. It's not just some, I definitely know that people could, definitely trip out on this film and really enjoy it on drugs, and they probably did. But it's really more than that. It's sad. There was this animated film that I'm blanking on the title of right now, and I'm actually trying to look it up, that also affected me emotionally. When the Wind Blows. There it is, folks. Sorry about that. When the Wind Blows. When the Wind Blows also affected me emotionally. It's put out by Screen Archives, I believe, in a limited edition, but what an unbelievably emotional film as well that I will look at in the future on this YouTube page. But we have very vulnerable violence. It's not your typical kind of adult animated violence. And I think this film was actually rated PG, although there's no rating on the back here, as far as I know. So, but we have weird full frontal female and female nudity and weird sexual situations that are, are they even sexual situation? Are they even situations at all? It's very peculiar, very interesting. There's nudity, and it's sexual, but it's otherworldly as well. You're not quite sure. Sorry about that. That must be something happening in the with my neighbor here. Sorry about that. But it is quite atmospheric. I hope you enjoy it. But there's something that is very unnerving about the sexuality in this film. But it's just as unnerving and beautiful and strange as the entire film. It exists in its own world. It exists in its own planet. Okay, it definitely does. This is otherworldly. There is a presence to this film that I've never experienced in another animated film before. Too simple to say, dreary or sad or intense or weird or bizarre. Those things are there, but it's like something else that cannot be explained. You become fixated, you become lured in, and put into a type of cinematic trance where you are very much aware at the same time of your interested fascinations and emotions, okay? If that makes sense at all. The feeling that you're supposed to know what's going on, but you don't. Between scenes and worlds. The creatures, the beings, the objects, the situations that boggle the mind and confuse you into another world, another planet, a fantastic planet. It's as if you are a foreigner in a foreign land observing a foreign language of terror. A lot of times people will look at avant-garde experimental films and they'll say, I don't know what's going on. I'm just confused. I don't understand. And then they lose interest. Of course I don't. But this is a film where you're supposed to not know. And it's in the not knowing in certain scenes and subjects and objects that you realize the truth of the film, the otherworldliness of the film. You are a foreigner. You are an alien watching this film. You do not belong in the world of this film when you are watching it. The natural world is scary. The real is scary. The surreal is scary. The surreal in the film reflects the scary real of the world. You are lost, but not necessarily confused, for as this short film moves on, through each second you become more and more familiar with this lostness, and you start to operate on a different level, that you don't operate in a normal world that you live in when you're not watching this film. When the movie is over and you go and pay your bills, Fantastic Planet is truly pushing play in a world that you are lost in. And it's beautiful. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bazaar YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like Fantastic Planet. Thank you so much, and please feel free to check out all my other reviews and my own personal films at youtube.com/poopydiarrhea. Thank you, and good night.